early election 2020 episode of One Nation. I'm your host, Aaron D. Frankel. This is a preview of what there is to come, with sketches and other fun bits. I've been working on this little show here for quite a little while and digging around into all the current happenings and what seems to be like a never-ending living nightmare going on around us. Sorting through facts, combing, per se. But a jaw-dropping development compelled me, insisted upon me to urgency.
Is by a rigged election.
The election is rigged. Remember that.
You can't let them take your vote away. These people are playing dirty politics.
So, hello, nation. You must be feeling a little overwhelmed. Maybe even exhausted. I know. Me too. Unfortunately, we have a narcissistic trust fund man-child leading us into chaos. We have President Donald J. Trump, a man who just cannot seem to stop throwing a wrecking ball at democracy every few hours, having temper tantrums for media attention, turn dangerously more threatening.
Bomb threats have been made against Jewish centers all across the country in the last couple of weeks. There are people who are committing anti-Semitic acts or threatening to...
You see, he said he was going to ask a very simple, easy question. And it's not. It's not. Not a simple question, not a fair question. Okay, sit down. I understand the rest of your question. I am the least anti-Semitic person that you've ever seen in your entire life. Number two, racism. The least racist person. In fact, we did very well relative to other people running as a Republican. Quiet. See, he lied about he was going to get up and ask a very straight, simple question. So, it's welcome to the world of the media.
Would you accept that that was a good example of the smooth running of government?
Yeah, I do. Let me tell you about the
Were there any mistakes in that?
Wait. I know who you are. Just wait.
What do you say the Americans were scared, though? I guess nearly 200 dead, 14,000 who are sick, millions, as you witnessed, who are scared right now. What do you say to Americans who are watching you right now who are scared?
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I say. I think
think
it's a very nasty question, and I think it's a very bad signal. Let me just say something. That's really bad reporting. And you ought to get back to reporting, John.
Can I get back to the science and the logistics?
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
The units that were ordered.
This president, who I have always suspected to secretly really be a mutated sweet potato, has been yammering. Yeah, you get it? Yeah. Has been yammering on for weeks with baseless claims of certain election fraud in our 2020 race. That the Democrats have the whole thing fixed, despite the fact that he has been president with control of the Senate.
When it comes to election security, Republican leader Mitch McConnell is not afraid of the Russians. He's afraid of the United States Senate, a Republican-controlled Senate.
Why hasn't Mitch McConnell allowed us to have a debate in the Senate about the protection of our basic democratic institution of free and fair elections?
Leader McConnell has not brought a single piece of election security legislation to the floor. The truth is, this president seems incapable of accepting the unanimous consensus of the prior administration's intelligence leadership and his own intelligence leadership about what Russia did in the past, and chances are we'll do it again. The bills that my colleagues and I are proposing are largely bipartisan. We're talking about low-hanging fruit that if it came to the floor of the Senate, they would all pass, I think, with close to 80-plus votes.
He has refused over and over to do anything about protecting our election infrastructure. The Democrats in Congress, they have been passing bill after bill, many of whom to strengthen the voting system from interference of all kinds, foreign and domestic. Republicans refuse to even take it up.
Twice in the last 24 hours, Senate Republicans have blocked legislation aimed at boosting election security.
And Trump actually threatened himself to veto any election protections. They were considered poison pills in the bills. He loves playing the outsider, but he is the one in power. He could have easily addressed protecting free and fair elections. Democrats begged him for years, since 2018, proposing many election security bills. The key word, I think, there was fair, I guess. Even though vote by mail is a key part of all of our elections, we have been voting that way since the Revolutionary War and prior. It is more secure than ever. Even he votes that way.
Request, I'm an absentee voter because I requested, I got, and then I sent in my vote. So that works out very well. That's what we've had.
Somehow now, all of a sudden now the absentee and mail ballots, they're all scams, or a mess, or his favorite thing to call anything he doesn't like, a hoax.
But I do say this, universal mail-in voting is going to be catastrophic. It's going to make our country a laughingstock all over the world. You can't.
And he's calling this governor, who is a political hack. He was a political hack, and then he became governor. And this is the guy that we're entrusting with millions of ballots, unsolicited ballots, millions and millions, and then we're supposed to win these states. And now he's in charge of the election and the millions of ballots. So if I'm up like millions of votes, he can rig the election. He can rig the election. And it's Democrats. They're trying to rig this election.
Ah, yes, those terrible Democrats. And all those crazy, scary ideas of fairness, healthcare, protecting American values, social safety net. Democrat insistence of never breaking the rules is what he exploits in order to be so lawless, breaking the rules. This stuff isn't new. He has been whining about completely made-up conspiracies and hoaxes for years. Actually, everything he usually calls a hoax that's against him tends to wind up being quite the opposite. And his delusional conspiracy theories have absolutely no base in reality whatsoever. Trump is shockingly transparent. His insecurities cause him to just repeat outrageous lies over and over. The scary part is his supporters seem to just eat it all up.
He says he's not a socialist, but all of his ideas that sound like socialist ideas, and everybody around him are like socialists, and they all support that. And I think that as soon as he's in office, he will start pushing socialism if he was in office.
They're the devil. They got a lot of Satan in them. They're out for their own good. They have no interest in the United States of America.
And the they there, who's the they?
The Democrats, Biden, Pelosi, all of them. They just got a lot of evil in them. They are not in the best interest of the United States of America.
I support Trump because he's not a socialist. I'm a foreigner in America. I lived in 2 socialist countries, and I want nothing to do with socialism.
Do you see Joe Biden as socialist?
The people that are handling him are socialists.
Now replacing Joe Biden?
Praying for God to help us.
President Biden, that can't happen. I can't even think about that because he does not like America. He's a racist. Now that's a racist. If you want to look at someone who despises the black man, the black woman, he looks out for himself. He's a crook. His son is a crook. He's a criminal.
What happens if Donald Trump loses? Do you have a fear for the country if Donald Trump? You're nodding your head. I'll go. Okay, you can. I'll ask both of you.
We actually have plans to move to Panama because it's a city or it's a country that allows Americans to move there and to actually own firearms there.
His supporters seem to just buy all of the bullshit. Even some of the really far out there stuff. I mean, far out there.
When you hear Dr. Anthony Fauci, for example, who's on the Vice President's Health Commission on COVID, say that by wearing a mask you're helping to stop the spread, what do you think of that?
He's a liar.
And why is that?
Because I don't believe in numbers.
People die with about 50,000 every month in the United States, and most of these are probably people that were going to die for some reason, and just because they had the virus in their system, it's listed as a death. So I'm not buying it. I don't think there's near as many deaths.
Biden, because he's not controlling anything.
Who do you think is pulling Biden's strings? Is it former Obama
people
officials?
That you've never heard of, people that are in the dark shadows, people that...
What does that mean? That sounds like conspiracy theory. Dark shadows.
No,
what is
people that you haven't heard of. They're people that are on the streets. There are people that are controlling the streets.
And after 4 years, we have sort of grown a little numb to it. It's shocking at first. And then after a while, we've started to just slowly brush it aside because it is so often. All the time, it just never ends. And we do have to deal with the actual crises he creates almost instinctively. Besides, there has never been any evidence of massive voter fraud. In all of the years Republicans have searched, and they have searched, even Sweet Potato Head set up a whole commission that had to be disbanded in disgrace because it just doesn't happen. They found nothing. There's 0.004% chance that an American will attempt voter impersonation or fraud. More likely to be struck by lightning.
Well, Senator, I think what I would say is this. We take all election-related threats seriously, whether it's voter fraud, voter suppression, whether it's in person, whether it's by mail, and our role is to investigate the threat actors. Now, we have not seen, historically, any kind of coordinated national voter fraud effort in a major election, whether it's by mail or otherwise.
That is his own handpicked FBI Director, Christopher Wray, the latest to testify on the actual basis of mass voter fraud being a myth. And yes, a few individual cases have been charged over the many years because they're just stupid and so easily caught. It's not easy. Our elections are really secure. You cannot rig it from the outside. In fact, any attempt to do so would need an unimaginable, widespread plot of national conspirators, and any such thing would be easily thwarted by our intelligence agencies. I mean, they thwart terrorist plots. Come on. However, rigging an election as the top insider, that's something else. Sowing doubt, claiming that the election will be stolen. That gives people who want a certain outcome the permission to doubt any outcome. To a narcissist who cannot comprehend anything above self-interest, this probably seems perfect. Why not try it? But that is someone with absolutely no capability to see what undoable damage that does. The danger it poses, literally, to our country's freedom. The most important and simple heartbeat of American democracy, faith in our free and fair elections. That we elect our leaders to govern in our best interest. And if they turn out to be bastards, we get to fire their asses and pick someone else. They work for us. That's the job of a public servant. No one is entitled to the presidency. Even Donald Trump, who has lived a life of entitlement, has to work and earn that position. He had 4 years to do so. But we, the people of the United States, get to choose. If that trust in the power to choose is eroded, with that comes the end of the American Republic. And if anyone knows that, it's Vladimir Putin. You see, Russia's constant campaign of breaking the U.S. from the inside has been all about fanning these flames.
We certainly have seen very active efforts by the Russians to influence our election in 2020 through what I would call more the malign foreign influence side of things. Social media, use of proxies, state media, online journals, et cetera, an effort to both sow divisiveness and discord. And I think the intelligence community has assessed this publicly, primarily to denigrate Vice President Biden and what the Russians see as kind of an anti-Russian establishment.
Is accurate. This is collusion. Why do I say that? Because
According to this report, Andrei Derkach is a Russian agent. He's an agent of the Russian Federation. His cover story is as a Ukrainian lawmaker, but according to this intelligence assessment report, a report of the assessment, he is controlled by the Kremlin. Point two is that Rudy Giuliani, we know, has been working with him. And of course, Rudy Giuliani is an agent of Trump and the Trump campaign. That's 1 + 1 = 2. That is collusion. That's a direct tie between a known Russian agent and the Trump campaign to try to do what? To denigrate Joe Biden and to support Donald Trump in his reelection. So the extent to which the Mueller report, which I know we're going to get to, could not establish a direct tie between the Russian Federation and the Trump campaign, here in 2020, we have it unfolding before our very eyes.
After all, Putin's whole point is not to elect Donald Trump again for us, because he's so good for America, but to sow doubt, distrust, and chaos in our democracy. Russia wants what's good for Russia. Russia wants us to question our elections, the bedrock of our republic. And to do so, they've been succeeding. And so Trump's own people tell him, and us, all of this stuff. All of this stuff, it's all disinformation, straight out of the Kremlin. That's where it comes from. That's what they say. But he amplifies it anyway. He's retweeting the bullshit his own people warned him about. And all this crap is dangerously damaging to our country. Most of it is actually made by foreign enemies, literally, as an attack on our country. Trump has weakened America in so many ways that it is frightening. It's frightening as hell. But this one feels particularly spine-shivering.
Online, more insidious forms of misinformation, including baseless claims about Vice President Joe Biden being a pedophile.
Do you guys seriously think that Joe Biden's a pedophile?
Yes, I do. But that's
I
just
feel
my
he
opinion.
is. I feel he's part of the game of the whole thing.
That baseless, fabricated claim about Biden is circulating among supporters of QAnon, a conspiracy theory that the FBI says is a potential domestic terrorism threat.
But if he wins, it means the Democratic machine has won in some of the illegal tactics that, the voter fraud. I think that if he loses, they come after all of.
Make sure your vote gets counted. Make sure, because the only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged. Remember that. This is just a way they're trying to steal the election. And everybody knows that. Because the only way they're going to win is by a rigged election. I really believe that.
Well, but if he wins, it wasn't rigged. If Biden wins, it's rigged. Okay. No coincidence that this is, as polls started to show, Biden with a strong lead. But then again, there's reasons for that, such as Trump driving our economy into near depression level, Trump's willful neglect of the coronavirus.
The U.S. economy has contracted 32.9% in the second quarter.
The country.
The pandemic
This is the worst performance since records have been kept that started in 1947.
It is worse for a single quarter than we ever saw during the Great Recession.
Terrible number on GDP. We're waiting for the rest of the GDP breakdown.
Just reported its worst economic plunge in history.
It goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. The touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air. That's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus.
He knew. He knew how deadly it was, how contagious, how much worse than the flu it was. And yet to the masses, he said that same month back in February, this.
It's a little like the regular flu that we have flu shots for. I mean, view this the same as the flu. This is a flu. This is like a flu. Everything can be perfect, and then you hear, gee, there's a bug, there's a flu, there's a virus. And we're prepared, and we're doing a great job with it, and it will go away. Just stay calm, it will go away. There are certain sections in the country that are in phenomenal shape already. Other sections are coming online, other sections are going down. It'll go away at some point, it'll go away. It may flare up, and it may not flare up. We'll have to see what happens. And the crisis is being handled, and we are likewise getting under control. They are dying. That's true. And it is what it is. But that doesn't mean we aren't doing everything we can. It's under control.
I wanted to
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't want to create a panic.
Well over 200,000 dead and counting, and literally being the most damaging, lawless law and order candidate ever. Trump makes Nixon seem like a Boy Scout. Here's what Miles Taylor, his hand-picked former Department of Homeland Security Chief of Staff, recently had to say.
When Donald Trump came in, that, can we trust this guy with the nuclear codes? Well, here's Donald Trump basically proving to us in real time that he can't be trusted with the nation's secrets. This is the type of information that if someone like me with a security clearance came out and validated, we'd go to prison. This would be prosecutable. This would be criminal release of classified information. Now, I won't confirm or deny.
I don't know if the president imagines that human beings are kept in laundry bins at the border, but he repeatedly said the bins are full, do not let them in. It was conveyed to the president that it actually would be illegal for us to deny asylees entry into the border. And when again the president was told that that couldn't be done, he said, don't worry about it, do it. If you get in trouble, I will pardon you. And elsewhere. But what we've learned is this from Donald Trump, and what I learned in my time is that when disaster strikes, whatever kind of disaster it is, we get a 2-for-1 deal with Donald Trump. What do I mean by that? Whether it's a hurricane, whether it's nationwide civil unrest, or whether it's a contested election, when there's a disaster, we not only have the American people worried about that immediate danger and threat of the incident, we also have them worried about the president himself. The president wanting to send an army of lawyers to contest as many states as possible, to make it difficult for the electors to certify and for another president to take office. I can't even believe, John, we're having this conversation, right? I'm an American too. I'm a taxpayer. Yes, I served in the administration. Yes, I'm a lifelong Republican. Yes, I wanted the president to succeed. He disappointed us. But now I'm sitting here talking to you and we're wondering, will the president of the United States facilitate a peaceful transfer of power? I never thought I would say those words to the United States.
There's almost nothing more unpresidential, anti-democratic, anti-American than the refusing of the peaceful transition of power. Everything our founders stood for, every president starting with George Washington, ingrained in our nation. It is the inherent bedrock of our democracy. It allowed us to endure since the founding. This literally separates America from every banana republic in an autocratic nation around the world. And it is the singular consecutive act that has always happened, even in the most heated of contests.
Will you commit to making sure that there is a peaceful transferal of power after the election?
Well, we're going to have to see what happens. You know that I've been complaining very strongly about the ballots, and the ballots are a disaster.
I understand that, but people are rioting. Do you commit to making sure that there's a peaceful transferal of power?
We want to get rid of the ballots, and we'll have a very peaceful. There won't be a transfer, frankly. There'll be a continuation.
Holy shit! Utterly stunning! The implications of such a thing are just unthinkably horrible. He has made comments about civil war, claiming them to be jokes, but the consequences of something like this would effectively be either civil war or America's fall into autocracy. Literally the end of representative democracy. The free republic of the United States of America. It is so shocking, one almost can't process the whole thing. But if you listen again, he lets something slip there. To catch it? Like a comic supervillain, Donald Trump cannot resist telling us the evil plan out loud, ever. He says he wants to get rid of the bad ballots. And then he will win. Meaning toss out all the absentee mail ballots, of which an overwhelming majority we know are likely Democratic this year. In this COVID pandemic, he is allowed to devour our country.
The piece that was in Slate today, making that point before the president had made these comments about peaceful transitions of power. But what we've had is not just Trump saying that if the election goes Biden's way, it's rigged. We've had his son saying there are going to be millions of fraudulent ballots. And we've had the Attorney General of the United States, William Barr, saying that.
And now it all starts to come together. How convenient is it that he's mentioned a reason for rushing his new Supreme Court justice confirmation before the election so quickly? It has never been done before.
No, we have a lot of time. No, before the election, and then you have after the election too. But in terms of time, we go to January 20th. But I think it's better if you go before the election, because I think this scam that the Democrats are pulling, it's a scam. The scam will be before the United States Supreme Court.
He just predicts that the court is where this election will be decided. That is not how this works. No, this is America. We, the people, the voters, pick our president and representatives. His re-election strategy is not to get more votes than Biden. It seems he just accepts Biden will win more votes. Even the Electoral College, right? He will just try to have the blue votes thrown out. Try to turn the election into one of his faux lawsuits. It seems to also refuse to leave, calling for violence if it all fails. Military conversations at the Pentagon have actually had to have discussions over what to do if Trump tries to use the Insurrection Act to stay in office. Probably some garbage he picked up from, I don't know, a criminal, perhaps? Roger Stone?
In Nevada, on election night, should be seized by federal marshals and taken from the state. They are completely corrupted. No votes should be counted from the state of Nevada if that turns out to be the provable case. We can prove voter fraud in the absentees right now. Send federal marshals to the Clark County Board of Elections, Mr. President. It's all there. The votes from Nevada should not be counted. They are already flooded with illegals.
Do I hear the sound of Satan crawling down my spine? General John Nagel, an Army officer and veteran of both Iraq wars, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Yingling, wrote an open letter to General Milley saying, quote, "The President of the United States is actively subverting our electoral system, threatening to remain in office in defiance of our Constitution." Nagel and Yingling wrote, "In a few months' time, you may have to choose between defying a lawless president or betraying your constitutional oath. We write to assist you in thinking clearly about that choice." They continue. "If Donald Trump refuses to leave office at the expiration of his constitutional term, the United States military must remove him by force, and you must give the order." The letter continues. "The once unthinkable scenario of authoritarian rule in the United States is now very real possibility." That is terrifying, man. This would have been unimaginable 4 years ago. I mean, he already sowed all this doubt about the mail-in ballots, right? AKA absentee. All this nonsense about how fraud-filled they are. By the way, the same mail-in ballots that we've used every election. Civil War. Stronger protections on our mail-in ballots than our cash. In other words, he plans to contest it, litigate it. The results litigating the results to the Supreme Court even, like the 2000 Bush v. Gore.
Donald Trump will fight viciously and vigorously to make sure that he doesn't lose this election. But I don't just mean up and until November 3rd. I mean after November 3rd. My worry is that Bush v. Gore in the 2000s will look like child's play compared to what this president might do if he feels like he's got a shot at delegitimizing the election.
Now here's what Bart Gellman of The Atlantic has reported.
The Trump campaign is talking about the possibility of asking those Republican legislators to disregard the popular vote because it has been rigged, and to simply appoint Trump electors to represent the state. State legislatures have the power to appoint electors directly. And
are you saying that Donald Trump's campaign and his lawyers are talking to some in those legislatures and telling them to overthrow the will of the voters in those states?
Well, I know that they've had that conversation with the head of the Republican Party in Pennsylvania, who told me so. And I know that the Pennsylvania Senate Majority Leader and Speaker of the House are aware of this talk and have talked among themselves about the possibility. Trump is running a campaign premised on the idea that he can't win enough votes if all the votes are counted. And the thing about a presidential election is that it depends on the concession of the loser. If the loser won't concede, and in particular if the incumbent won't concede, he's got a bunch of different reps that he can work. There's no single umpire with the ability to say, okay, the game's over, we've called it, score.
Jesus, it reads like a literal coup. Trump casually shouts out these ridiculous claims since 2016 he's done this, all these buzzwords. Rigged, scam, everything's fixed, hoax, hoax, hoax. And like everything in his life, it's projection. It's projection of what he himself is actually planning and thinking and feeling. Litigate it in court until he gets what he wants. Or cuts a hush-hush deal. Project, deflect, reject. Well, while it is really a douchebag private citizen behavior, as the president, it could destroy the entire country as we know it. This is not a shady business right here. This is our free government. This is our country. You cannot come back from this. If he wants to win re-election, he needs to appeal for more votes, like all elections. Frankly, if he had not destroyed so much of our government, behaving like a selfish brat for 4 years, perhaps he would have helped him a little bit. He's gotten away with so much, so many damaging things. But stealing an election, we must not allow this. This is America. We have to make sure there is no question. Okay? We need every vote. Record massive turnout. We know exactly what he will do. All right? He's flat out told us. America has to make that impossible. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have to win this election in the Electoral College and popular vote by huge margins. Every county, everywhere. I've got so much more to say about these implications of what Trump's doing here. I got a lot I want to talk about with Joe Biden's positions and campaign. I want to debunk a lot of this, frankly, evil trolling bullshit out there. But this was just a quick early episode. I have far more to come and a lot more next time. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me for this early sneak peek at One Nation. This was just a quick election prep-isode, and I've got much more planned. I'm looking for comics, reporters, segment artists, cutters, like footage. I'm just 100% open to collaboration. So any collaborators, any punditry, looking for you. So on Insta and Twitter, DM me at Aaron D. Frankel or contact at aarondfrankel.com. Throw those up. So there will be sketches. And there will be comedy and fun stuff too. And there will be facts and digging and reporting and real information. And when something's opinion, we will make sure you know that. But every opinion will be based on a fact as well. But we gotta start. We gotta start talking about this. The facts. We've only got a couple weeks left. This is incredibly important. But thank you for joining me on One Nation, and I will see you next time. Cheers.